I don't want to. I don't care. Hanzo, the man sighed. I'm not interested in meeting your friends. I don't care. Hanzo laughed, dragging Gold along by the arm through a forest. Simply 10 minutes prior, they had been enjoying the spoils of a well-fought victory where Gold had inadvertently mentioned that pride wasn't pride if it was celebrated alone. Nice as he may be, Hanzo had always been a very excitable, dramatic person. Sometimes it became more of a chore to work with the man than a pleasure, but his company was always appreciated. Hanzo, in the boisterous way that he did things, then proudly spoke of this group of friends he had when he wasn't out dropping asses with Gold. The first thought that came to Gold's mind was, I'm not sure I want to meet the people who can put up with Hanzo on a daily basis. What Gold had never told his ninja friend was of his past. Before he decided that he needed a bit of color in his life, Gold went by the name Raviel, and was very well known by that title in the town square for his ferocity as a fighter and skill and literacy that could twist a bard in the infancy. Working with famous names such as Belfont, considered the most feared combat-based mercenary clan. The clan's name had been soiled in insults for the actions of a select few rejects, but the bad name that the clan gave off caused Raviel to leave and defect against them. He joined the side of a young woman, a princess amongst her people, and her plentiful amounts of guardians, whom had long been targets of the Belfont clan. It took less than a week before the group had recognized his skill in combat, and Raphael quickly advanced to the woman's close circle of protectors. To be honest with himself, Raphael never found pleasure in success, nor did he, the devious nature of his work, nor the looks of both fear and respect he got. No, all of his pleasure came from the very violence himself. It didn't really matter where he was, who he was with. If he had the chance to throw a punch, he did as hard as he could. One day, Belfont had isolated him with the women, and sent their best at him with all they had. It had just been Rabiel, whose fighting relied entirely on up-close ferocity against a mage who could take him out at a distance. Raviel had put up a fight, but the mage quickly and easily disposed of him and took the girl off. He had been considered a failure amongst the other guardians, and as was the code of honor, Raviel left and changed his name. The name Gold came from the name of a demon from his past who gave him the power to be the machine of violence that he was. It also stemmed from the golden medal that outlined his new weapon of choice, a battle axe as big as he was. He decided he was better off fighting alone, and for a long time that's exactly what he did. He relaxed at the town square, which day by day decayed more into a brothel than a meeting place of the like-minded, and waited for the opportunity. A need would arise where one would need to be struck down, and Gold jumped on the chance. It wasn't about fame or money, simply the act of entertainment that left him empty inside afterwards. Something was just missing. That's when the autistic ninja came around. He shared the same flare inside his heart whenever combat arose, and lived for the climactic moment of victory. He wanted to join Gold's band of one, and after a long time of thought, he had agreed to allow him to tag along. Maybe company was what was missing, and for a while this indeed helped. They fought few notable opponents, mostly themselves, until one particular victory had brought him to this very point, being strung along by the hand of a man through an unfamiliar area to meet strange new people. He had faced together opponents than that of being social, that was for certain, right? Their personal lives had been entirely separate. The ninja knew little of Gold, and the same was returned. Anxiety did not strike Gold very often, yet there he stood in complete unwillingness. Finally the forest had broken, and Hanzo led him into a perfect clearing where the group had often spent their time. At first no one had noticed their entrance until, "Hey everyone!" Hanzo screamed for their attention. Dead silence. Two men had been in the middle of a friendly spar when they then raised their arms in paranoid anger facing their guest. Two figures sat off in the distance, sitting under the comfortable shade a tree could provide, a man and woman, presumably the couple. For some reason, Hanzo's presence didn't calm them about the situation. The two fighting men slowly approached, intent in their gazes that Gold was a threat. Hanzo quickly waved his hands about, and Gold had to cover his mouth, supported by an arm across the chest. It took everything in him to prevent laughing. Hey, relax, guys, Hanzo cheered. Gold's with me, he's alright. He's a guy I've been hanging out with every now and then. Then, everyone started acting really weird. Everyone looked back at the couple by the tree, and then began to whisper amongst themselves, as if to hide we were even speaking. What kind of name is that? One of the men grinned to the other. What's yours, Shakespeare? Gold quit back. He growled with distaste. Laguna. Oh, that's so much better. Gold laughed, looking to the next guy. And you? You can just call me Nightmare. The laughter struck once more. Are you serious? And my name is funny? Gold thought to himself. Keep laughing and we'll... Hanzo? The color in everyone's faces faded. Hanzo's, however, little happiness. Hanzo, the woman asked again, her tone the most polite Gold had ever heard a human being speak. Who's this? A friend of yours? Gold muttered. This was a first for him. What did he say? Hanzo wasn't speaking fast enough. Hurry up and answer her, was the only thought that could come to Gold's mind. Yes, ma'am, this is Lord Gold. We've been working together a while. He's a good friend of mine. Gold had never been more confused in his entire life. He'd seen many women in his lifetime so far. Many of them even lacked the correct amount of clothing. Many lacked clothing at all. He'd seen all there was to see about a woman, especially in infected areas like the town square. He'd slain the likes of the disgusting and the sickened. Even seconds prior, he stared two armed men in the eye and laughed as they struggled to intimidate him. But just the sound of this particular woman, and her bronze-haired beauty that seemed unreal, her emotion-filled eyes that acted like magnets to his gaze, and her angelic voice that brought him an odd feeling of peace, instilled a feeling in the pit of his stomach he hadn't ever felt. She stood before him in her white dress and light body armor, and he felt weak, vulnerable. He actually considered the possibility that he may be sick. Discreetly, he turned to Hanzo and pulled him aside, whispering to his ear, Hanzo, who the fuck is that? Before he could answer, she'd already begun to speak again. She smiled, and it tore Gold's insides apart. Was she doing this on purpose? Why was no one else affected by this odd magic? The angelic hymn of her voice once again began to ring. Well, Lord Gold, my name's Starlet Shiragain. Hanzo's talked about you a lot. It's nice to actually meet you. Sorry if my guardians give you any trouble. They're a bit jumpy. Guardians. That was a term he hadn't heard in a while. How the hell are you carrying that thing? Laguna opened his mouth for the first time since Starlet came over. It took Gold a moment to wipe the awkward look from his face and even figure out what he was referring to. You don't look like you have the body for that kind of weapon. Yeah, nice to meet you too, Starlet. He then tilted his head back, referencing his axe. This? What can I say? I'm a badass. What kind of answer? Laguna had started. But then the next strange thing happened. Starlet giggled. And with this odd sense of victory, Gold smiled along with her. Relax, Laguna. He seems harmless enough, Starlet assured him. Hanzo trusts him, and I think he's funny. Yeah, Gold laughed at Laguna. Down, guard dog. Nightmare, who seemed to show the littlest care for the situation, had long since retreated to a seat on the ground, shooting glares in Gold's direction whenever he thought he wasn't looking. Starlet sighed. She knew too often how immature her companions could be. Trying to play nice, and the only one doing it, she threw on a smile and pretended to care for the sake of niceties. So, what are you doing here? Gold let his hands slip in the pockets of his pants, watching his feet as he struggled what to say. However, doing everything in the power not to show her this. She couldn't know he was nervous, nor Hanzo for that matter. Laguna clinging to Starlet's side made the conversation a little easier, though. Something to stare at that didn't make him want to dance like a Korean man made stringing words into a sentence an achievable task. Since when did he give a shit about what Hanzo thought, or what anyone thought? Well, to be honest, I don't even know. I should probably be going, actually. Don't be stupid. Relax with us for a while. Oh, fuck. Don't be stupid. Relax with us for a while. Hanzo laughed. Is that okay, Miss Starlet? No, Laguna growled. Yes, Starlet replied. Assuming my guardians can keep their hands off of him. No fights, Laguna. For God's sake, the man just got here. He probably just wants somewhere to sit down. You should see him fight, though, Hanzo exclaimed a little bit too excitedly. It brought a smirk to Laguna's face. Oh, really? I'm interested in how sharp that axe is. Laguna awkwardly smiled. What does that even mean? Gold fought every ounce of laughter in his body. Listen, Lady Starlet, he asked, still trying to avoid direct eye contact. She tilted her head. I've got nothing against you, really, but the company you keep, they're a bit eccentric. She giggled again as if it were an understatement. I'll put it this way. Hanzo dragged me here, and you're a pleasure. But if you don't call your dogs off of me, they won't be walking for a while. Her eyes widened a bit, and her face didn't reflect the reaction Gold had been expecting. Hanzo was quiet, and Laguna was the one holding back laughter. Starlet took in a deep breath and took a single step back, silencing everyone surrounding them. Dumbfounded, Gold returned his attention to Laguna, who looked just as surprised as he was. Just don't kill each other, okay? Neither man spoke. Neither man knew what to say. But Starlet retreated back and met with the man she was with earlier, a man who had been oddly absent from this whole incident. At first, the man took an offensive stance when he saw Laguna reaching for the blade on his back, but Starlet quickly calmed him down and pulled him aside to talk. Don't think I don't see how you look at her. Excuse me? Gold asked. I don't like you, I can tell. Starlet would blank. Leave while you can and take your dumb gazes with you. Blank. Probably the most ridiculous name out of all of them. Figures. She wasn't single. Girl like that, how could she be? Why was he having thoughts like that? If I were a man of such admirable intelligence as yourself, I would think you were coming on to me. Sorry to break it to you, man, but me and Hanzo, we got this thing going on. Gold looked back at Starlet and Blake. She was smiling and held his arm around her protectively, both watching the spar about to occur. Suddenly, he had some aggression to take out. Shut the fuck up! Laguna was close and quick in Gold's face before he could take a breath. The sword he held, its blade a ridiculous and impractical length, pressed against the shaft of Gold's battle axe, which had been just as quickly drawn in defense. Gold pushed back hard and knocked Laguna off of his balance, then stepped in close, pushed the blade aside, and swung high and hard with his axe. Naturally, Laguna had ducked underneath the slow and predictable attack, but then the heavy axe head hit the ground, and the metal plate that protected his knee slammed hard in Laguna's face as he ducked, knocking him back up to eye level. His sword, too long to do a thing at such short range, with such short reaction time, couldn't stop a single punch in the rapid barrage of them Gold had managed to land into Laguna's abdomen. He lost count by the time Laguna had simply fallen back on the ground. He then grabbed for his battle axe, and with a loud, angry cry, Gold stepped over Laguna's body and swung down as hard as he could, firmly burying the blade of his axe into the ground by Laguna's head. He looked up in horror, and every surrounding person had rose and readied a weapon for if Gold had landed a killing blow. Everyone but Starlet, who seemed oddly calm. And to everyone's surprise, Laguna was live and breathing, however heavily. The axe, Gold panted as he crouched over Laguna's body and kicked his weapon away, is sharp enough to tear you nose to ass. It stays that way because I never have to use it. Turns out, I like punching shit. He stood back up and almost started laughing again. He started putting things together in his head, and as he looked around to see the surrounding people threatening him, he knew his time here was done. Something good could have come out of all of this. He knew that in the back of his mind, but like the idiot he was, he fucked it up. Once Gold's weapon had been secured to his back, and Laguna was confirmed to be alive, albeit deep in shock. That's not how you say it, whatever. Everyone took a sigh of relief. Hanzo returned to his side, Nightmare returned to his sitting place, and Starlet and Blake ran over to check on things. Hanzo applauded and laughed at Laguna's quickly defeated state. Blake and Starlet both showed surprise and seemed very impressed. Nightmare was, whatever, doing Nightmare stuff. While Gold, he simply watched the ground and didn't say a word. Fuck. He took a last look at Starlet, felt that incredibly strange feeling in his stomach, and turned to walk away. He was lost in the forest. Before anyone could say a word to change his mind, yet Starlet chased after him. Lord Gold, she called once he was in sight, causing his stride to stop and his heart to sink. He was trying to avoid upsetting her, but she came running. Lady Starlet, please, he sighed. You have nowhere to go, right? She asked, trying to catch her breath. Hanzo says you don't, anyway. Why don't you stay with us, if only for a little bit? Gold turned and stared at her, confused. You offer me company after I took your guard dog out? What? No, I don't care about that. He had it coming to him. Laguna's an asshole. You seem like a really capable guy, and Hanzo speaks really highly of you. I trust him, and I have a good feeling about you. You're too kind, Gold laughed. You barely know a thing about me. You can tell a lot about people by watching them long enough. Gold thought she was joking. She must have been. Tell me, why does someone like you need bodyguards around? She laughed. There isn't enough daylight left to tell you that story. But please, if you stay with us tonight, I'll tell you in the morning. Her laughter was contagious. He found himself laughing, then immediately and desperately wondered why. And how do I know I won't be slain in my sleep by your friends? Oh, please, she laughed again. Laguna doesn't have it in him to do something like that. Do you trust me? Surprisingly, yes, he mumbled to himself. You're the only one to show me any kindness today. Kindness you weren't aware if I deserved. And it didn't seem as though you cared. It was unconditional, and now you offer me companionship? A woman who does those things must be foolish or fears nothing. Starlet shrugged her shoulders. Maybe I'm a bit of both, but I trust you. And I you. Gold, for the first time that day, had managed to make eye contact with the maiden, and then she smiled. Finally, he had broken inside. Hey, Gold! Hanzo's voice called from a distance as he steadily approached. Where'd you go? Starlet looked back towards the clearing and shook her head. I should probably be getting back. You and Hanzo join us when you're ready, okay? Reluctantly, Gold nodded his head and watched her wave as he disappeared amongst the trees. Not long after Hanzo had appeared. Well, that was fun, wasn't it? He asked. Gold laughed, unconsciously unable to take his eyes off the direction Starlet had went. Yeah, I suppose it was. Hanzo snapped his fingers to grab his attention and looked at him with quizzical eyes. What's with you, man? Gold then sighed. Have you ever had a feeling you just couldn't explain? Not really? Hanzo blinked at the odd question. Why? Because your friend there, she's having odd effects on me. Starlet? Oh, God. What? Gold asked. You like her, don't you? Hanzo asked back. Gold wasn't sure how to answer the question. She has that effect on everyone, my lord. It's very strange, but I'm surprised it's got you too. What do you mean? Gold had to ask. Is she magic or something? No, that's what weird. Well, I mean, she is magic, but not like succubus magic. She's just Starlet. Every guy she talks to falls in love with her. I can see why. Hanzo, she's absolutely gorgeous, and that smile and her voice, and I mean, she was so nice to me, and just being around her gives me this feeling I've never had before. She's just perfect. She could have anyone in this world that she wanted. I guess you could say that, Hanzo laughed, but she's with blank, my lord. I don't care. Hanzo gave him an empty stare. What do you mean you don't care? I mean exactly that. I don't care. I've never felt like this before. I've never been in love before. I don't care what happens, what I have to do, or how long it takes. I'm going to be with her one day, I swear that. Hanzo shook his head, looked at Gold as if to make sure he was being serious, and simply laughed at him. Don't get your hopes up, Gold. Personally, I don't like Blank. He doesn't treat her very well, and everyone sees it. But the day she becomes single is the day war breaks out. You're not the only one seeking her affection. Is that so? Gold laughed aloud and proudly cracked his knuckles. Just so happens, war is what I'm good at. Hanzo threw his hands up and gave in, laughing along with Gold and shrugging the topic off. Listen, I can't explain it. I don't know if I ever will be able to explain it, but something about just being around her makes me happy to exist. I picture her smile, and a happiness I've never felt just engulfs my entire body. I picture her crying, and this fury builds in me that could shatter mountains. Then I picture her holding my hand, and every wound I've ever had, every sadness I've ever felt, is wiped clean and healed. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm just a little crazy, but I swear to fucking God, if a single soul ever dares to come near her and try to do her harm, I will kill them. So long as I live and breathe, she will never be harmed. I'm going to be her guardian. Couldn't be any cheers to you if you tried, my lord. Hanzo slapped him on the shoulder and motioned for him to follow. But I think you've got a shot. I've never seen you act this way. Yeah, well, I've never had any inspiration to live before. Now, I think I do.